What is going on, everybody? Today we're joined by Amanda Villanova. Amanda, how are you this fine morning?
I am well. It's actually sunny in London, which never happens.
No, it doesn't.
I am happy, actually. I'm in a good mood. How are you two?
Doing well.
I am doing great. I watched Caught by Love and we reached out. I'm so glad that you're here today. What's been your journey? What made you want to become an actress?
Oh, wow. That is quite a long one. I was born in, this will make sense. It seems like a long journey, but it'll make sense once I explain. I was born in Puerto Rico and lived in Carolina, which is a small town next to the capital. I don't know if you've ever been to Puerto Rico, but you'll have lots of the beaches and that stuff like that in that area. And there was an after-school program that I joined initially as a dancer, and then I moved into the acting realm. And that's probably what ignited and started me wanting to become an actor, actually. So it's just a lovely group of very nice people serving their community, basically. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Was there kind of a specific moment, like, for you when you were like, yeah, this is what I want to do?
Kind of. I had to prepare an audition that involved a large drum and a sort of recreation of stuff that my grandmother would do as part of the after school program, and took it very seriously as if, sort of 14-year-old me entering the zone of Victoria Correa, which is my grandma's name, doing a sort of drum thing and whatever. And I think it was just a way of exploring what it would like to be a different person, I suppose. That's kind of what I found really liberating, because we often have like things about ourselves that are really hard to kind of push against. But then in a performance, I found that I could kind of break away a bit from those things. So I think that was really a big first step. And obviously then I did more serious things, trained at university, moved to New York, and then moved over here. But that was kind of the genesis, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you remember your first audition?
Do I remember my very, very first audition? Actually, I remember my first professional audition. I did lots of commercials and stuff like that in Puerto Rico, which is quite a different kind of thing. You're turning right and left and that kind of stuff to just be seen. But I auditioned for a sitcom. I got the part in the end, but I auditioned for a sitcom in Puerto Rico that ran for one season. And it was called El Clan de los Morales, the Morales clan. And I remember walking in, incredibly nervous, into this sort of producer's small studio they had in Puerto Rico in one of the channels. And it was with these two producers who were quite famous in Puerto Rico. And I'd heard so much about them all that time. Yeah, that was probably my first professional audition. It went well, actually. Got the part in the end. But yes, non-professionally in university, I had to audition for a what we call the traveling theater troupe, and we had to do a Spanish, sort of the equivalent of a Shakespeare, but in Spanish,
Nice.
comedy, and that was also incredibly nerve-wracking. The director, which was a man called Dean Sayas, was the most intimidating kind of. And often would just sit in the back with his eyes closed, and you thought he'd fallen asleep, but he was listening to see if you were matching the right rhythm in each of the verses. And that's probably scarier than a lot of other things I've done after that.
That sounds terrifying.
He was a fantastic man. He was absolutely wonderful and trained a whole generation of quite a few generations of Puerto Rican actors, but he was very, very scary.
Yeah. That seems intimidating, because it's like you can usually tell by somebody's look if you got it, if you nailed it. If they're not looking, you're like, oh,
No, believe me. Yeah, he sort of looked down, gracias, and move on. Thank you. Bye. Yeah, funny. Auditioning is quite a thing, actually.
Oh yeah. something I always find interesting when you're on a set, how do you kind of stay in character or not lose that drive during breaks?
It kind of varies. I think the kind of job you're doing. With Caught by Love, for example, we had a really big, diverse cast and crew, and a lot of people on set walking around, and people from all sorts of different cultures, and they were really funny, fun people. So it was really difficult to like zone in, because you want to be chatting and like you never know if you're going to see these people again. You've got these like amazing 3 weeks with them. I have to say, when it's a comedy, it becomes a little bit easier, because as long as you keep energies between takes and others and bouncing off each other, that was really positive to keep it really relaxed. I think when I've done slightly more dramatic things, or maybe stuff that you're working on your accent or stuff like that, I kind of zone myself out in between takes and remove myself from people, because I'm quite a chatty like person. So big cohorts, you'd end up, because it's such an exciting thing, and I wish that I'm not yet at the point where I'm in a set every day. So when you are there, you want to like chat to everyone, the makeup people and people doing the props and the person behind the camera. But I think I often read it off my fellow like actors in the room, if what works for them, and see if we can like stay on that same energy.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So what is the show Retail is Hell?
Retail is Hell. Oh yes. So I love that. A few years ago, a production company started by a Canadian girl who moved to London and her partner, who's a British filmmaker. They came up with the idea of Retail is Hell, which was like, she had worked in retail for a very long time and did a series of like web series episodes about different situations that happen kind of horribly when you're working in retail. I thought it was a really great web series. I don't know why it didn't go anywhere, because we had a fantastic time shooting it and it was so relatable. Have either of you ever worked in retail?
Yes.
I haven't, but I've worked in the food industry, so it's very similar.
It's incredible, like the people you meet and like what they want and require of you.
Yes.
When they're paying for a service of some description or a product. Yes, we shot, that was about 3 years ago, I think, that we shot it. And she's fantastic. She's been kind of moving from your country is very difficult, isn't it? So trying to find jobs and stuff here. She's like self-generating stuff based on her ideas. So yeah. Oh yeah, Retail is Hell. Watch it if you can. It's great.
It sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna track it down for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to. That'll be our project today.
No, I hope you enjoy it. It is very funny. It's just like, I can't remember the number of episodes now, but each one is like a different situation. Her in this same shop, and people coming in with also, people want to take stuff, people who want returns and shouldn't get them, like people were screaming at you. It's really good.
Yeah. Has there been a character you played that kind of challenged you more emotionally or professionally?
Yes, I did Are you familiar with British panto at all? Do you know what that's about?
Kinda.
A little bit.
Yeah, in Christmases here, there's quite like a type of theater making that is done, and pantomimes have like really specific rules. There's like a dame who's like this over the top, usually a man dressed as a woman walking around, etc. And they only happen in Christmas, and they're a very like quintessentially British thing. And about 2 years ago, with a company called Bold Theatre, that was started by an ex-professor of mine, and then she passed away, which is very sad. But they've kept it going. We put on a play called The Foreigner's Panto, and it was a series of immigrants in the UK trying to put on a panto, and while one of them was waiting for their visa decision, because obviously, migration is a huge theme in a lot of the things that I've been in. And I was playing the animal, which is a cow, because there's always an animal. And I was playing the cow, and I was a Latin American cow that didn't know English very well. So it was all very physical comedy and very few lines and a lot of dancing in a giant cow outfit. And interestingly, even though it wasn't like the emotional journey of the character was quite a big one, but there weren't a lot of words to express it. So I found that really challenging, like trying to deal with the comedy. We did singing, we did dancing and all the rest of it. And then we had this very particular moment where one of the characters is denied their visa for the UK while they're waiting. She's putting on this panto while she's waiting. And she was kind of my best friend in the piece. And that was an amazing 3 or 4 weeks of rehearsal and like also singing. I can sing, but singing is such a scary thing to do. I don't know how people do it. It's such a scary, like intimidating thing to do in front of everyone live, because when it goes wrong, it goes wrong, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I'd probably say that was, really challenging job that I did actually a couple of years ago. And it didn't involve that much talking, which interestingly can be really hard, I think.
Mm-hmm. Storytelling without the words seems difficult.
Definitely. Also, plays are a whole, so much can go wrong and you can't stop. Do you know what I mean? At least on set, it's so nerve-wracking. There's so many people around, and I've had a couple of jobs where, you know, you're the last take of the day and they really want to get it in on time, and you have a sea of people there, but you can keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Whereas in theater, nope, it goes wrong and it explodes. Someone forgets their line and they forgot to set a prop or whatever it may be. And
the show must go on.
The show must go on. You got to run with it. So yeah, I do really enjoy doing theater. It's really cool, fun thing to do.
Oh, I love doing theater. Do you have a favorite play you've done?
Yes, I did Closer. I'm sure you've watched the film Closer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was originally a play by Patrick Marber, and I did Closer at the Vienna English Theater, which is an English-speaking theater in Vienna. It's a very intense play. It's 4 people, and they kind of fall in love and break up, and fall in love and break up. I loved it. I played like what would have been Natalie Portman's character in the film for the play, and it was it was challenging as well, because it's sort of falling in love and then hating the other woman that's taken this man and da. It was really it was great, actually.
A lot of range in that one.
Yes, definitely.
So was For Love and Honey, was that your first project with Hallmark?
Yes.
What was that experience like?
It was amazing. I was working in Puerto Rico. As I imagine you'll know, actors do 300,000 jobs. I write and translate and do all sorts of things in between jobs. So I was doing live translation in Puerto Rico for 2 weeks in February, and then I got through the audition for Love and Honey. My mother helped me, or my dad helped me. They found an office somewhere where I was translating to do it, etc. And we had to do it twice because they weren't quite sure if they wanted like British accents or they wanted Maltese accents, which was a whole nother thing to try and work on. And then I had probably one of the nicest 3 weeks of my life. It was so great. Kevin Fair, the director, is so lovely and really clear, incredibly patient, nice man. And Hallmark was just a really great employer, I have to say. We stayed in lovely places, shot in amazing spots. Like Malta is so beautiful and has all sorts. Do you know what I mean? Like wineries and beautiful rocks and beaches, and so we went all around shooting in all these different places. And also, I remember getting the breakdown is saying it must be okay with bees. And I was like, wonder what this is about. That's the last thing you imagine being a requirement for any audition. And it was brilliant. And also, I got to work with with Margaret Clooney, who's amazing and like a very experienced British actress that I'd seen in other things. Yeah, it was a really, really interesting experience. Also, because you've never worked for Hallmark before, I was unbelievably nervous.
Yeah.
Like, because they produce so much stuff. And my dad's long-term partner is a Hallmark absolute fan. Just watches every film, absolutely adores it. So just the fact that I even got an audition, she turned to me and said, "Oh my God, Hallmark." And I'm like, yes. So she's very happy I've done 2 now, you know.
Yeah.
Hallmark is really, really great. It's have you been to Malta?
I've not.
No, I want to though.
I think it's not like appreciated sufficiently. I can see why people shoot there. You get all sorts, like walks and castles, all sorts. It's amazing. It's a really, really amazing and very friendly place to visit, I have to say.
Since Hallmark produces a lot, I'm also a big Hallmark fan. Is the production pretty quick?
Yeah, it's they shoot a lot in 3 weeks. Like both of the films that I've done have been shot in 3 weeks, and they have been very full films, particularly for Love and Honey. For Love and Honey involved them going down like caves and entire bits of bees and food, and you know what I mean? Like it's quite complicated stuff that's done only for 3 weeks. So it moves very, very quickly. And for Love and Honey was also really interesting because it had a very big cast and a very sort of big view, the hotel and like all they were trying to portray. It was a lot of people doing a lot in very quick succession. I have to say a lot of the actors had really great timing and managed to do reactions and things like that in very few takes, which was really important. I think they try and like Hallmark is great because it's trying to balance producing a lot at a very like high level of quality. So it requires like casting the right people and knowing exactly what one, which Kevin, who I think he's done quite a few Hallmark films, has really got down. He knows what's going next, where he's going to move, explain things really quickly, but then comes over to give you notes in a really nice, calm way, even when they're against the clock. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love a set that feels like that. Like, you know, it's going to be fast paced but you can still have time to kind of enjoy it and everyone's still really connected and calm. It's not like chaos.
Yeah. And I have to say they sort of set that tone from the beginning in both films. And the crew in Malta, which the same head of makeup worked on both films, who was really lovely. And it sort of, you got there in the morning and made you feel so good and centered before getting on set, etc. I was so happy to see her and see a couple of faces again, because going and employing amazing people in the place that you're working is also, I think, really important. And they definitely did that in both films.
Absolutely. I love it. How has acting changed you, like as you've grown in the industry?
Oh, wow. That's, I think when you become a working actor, your perspective changes a little bit. I think when you're training, I remember I took my training very, very seriously in a sort of like sacred kind of sanctimonious way, which is important, and to be very disciplined. And I came and studied at Central School of Speech and Drama in the UK. And that was a really intense year where we were all just thinking about just lines and character building and all of that. And then becoming a working actor is a completely different animal, because you're balancing so many jobs and real life, and also you're trying to prioritize your passion and your job all the time while still like trying to be happy and seeing friends and making enough money to get by. And I think over time, I love it more in a more relaxed way. I feel like I'm not as harsh on myself and others. I think when working, I feel really lucky and happy to be working rather than asking myself, is this important or not important? Is my character, all of it is important to me. Like every single commercial audition, every single bit of time that I have, workshops that I take it all with such, I'm so happy to be able to do it on that day, because you spend so much time doing other things and try and like get by as a working actor. And I think it's I'm a lot healthier now with it. I don't know if that makes sense. I think
no, it does. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like when you graduated, we all have to aspire to do absolutely as much as we can and as best as we can. But we also need to live our lives and be happy. So when I first graduated, every single audition was like the end. If I didn't get it, and I'd call my mom in Puerto Rico, Mom, I'm miserable and awful and dreadful, and I'm never going to be able to do this. I stopped doing that because obviously my mother couldn't fly to London every time and make me feel good. So that was for me. I think I'm a lot more appreciative of the time I get to do it, but also a lot more relaxed and kind, I think. I also think recently I've like fallen in love again with the kind of character and how to build character in a really like full way. I've been taking workshops more recently and just talking about like pace and rhythm and ways of speaking and what indicates to us like what other people are like and what audiences will like receive as someone who's anxious or desperate or incredibly in love or things like that in a more like calculated, precise way. They'd move this way, they'd talk this way. Whereas I think I was a bit more literary initially, kind of reading the whole thing and what would Shakespeare say. I think, I think so. Also, you're pretty, I think I'm a lot more empathetic since I've trained as an actor, I think.
Awesome. Amanda, what kind of things do you like to do outside of acting?
I'll start with my jobs because there are quite a few, and then I'll talk about my like leisure time. I write for a magazine called Writer's Mosaic, which is one of my other very proud jobs, and I'm working on a novel at the moment. That's my other big thing, so I do that. I love reading. I spend most of my leisure time reading. I've just read Flashlight by Suzanne Choi, a pretty amazing novel, just in case that's of interest to anybody. And I try and make the best out of living in London, because I have to say, I didn't think I'd end up living here, you know. I moved to New York first, and lots of Puerto Ricans live in the US, obviously. But I came and trained, and I got an agent and met my partner, and I thought, oh, give it a go, stay in London. So I try and make the best out of living here, you know, going to plays, and my now husband, I call him my partner, but I've gotten married recently. So my now husband.
Congratulations.
Thanks, upgrade. My husband is a violinist and a musician, so I go and watch him gig quite a lot. It's an experimental folk and experimental rock bands, which also very different from Puerto Rican culture, but hey, I like doing that. And I like going salsa dancing as much as I can when I'm free. Probably, yeah.
Sounds like fun. And like you said, in the weather in London, you have the downtime to read.
Yeah,
it's the perfect weather for reading.
Have you visited London, both of you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. And it's was cold and it was raining.
It's such a great city, but Christ, I'm seriously, look at that sun coming in. I'm so happy.
that is
every
rare
this year.
Oh my goodness. That is crazy.
I know.
What is some good advice you would have for people that are just kind of starting acting about, you know, like auditions and to just not get discouraged?
What would I say? I would say that you have to prepare, go and do it, and you have to immediately let it go, because when you go and audition, because half of the time it has nothing to do with you. And I think I now try and approach them that I want to do the absolute best I possibly could on that day, and then let it go and let it be, because we have no control over others' decisions. And the only way to keep yourself going is if you have that. And also, I'd probably say that having other passions and other things that make you really happy in your work life and in your day-to-day life are really important, because you can't be the best performer you can if you're unhappy, if you're not taken care of. I feel you can't turn up and be completely present and your best self if you're worrying about money, about your value, about your self-assurance and your confidence. So I think finding other things that fill that and support that and make you feel happy, confident, present are really important, because if not, you're not going to be able to do it long term, and it requires a really long time to kind of accumulate some good credits and people see you, and it takes a while. Also, if you have it in you and you want to make stuff yourself, I'd say make stuff yourself. Write something, try and self-produce something. I produced a one-woman show straight after drum school called Hurricane Diaries. And it was a one-woman show about the history of Puerto Rico told through a series of hurricanes that have hit the island across time. And that was amazing. I invited my agent to that. I met a theater company through there that have employed me afterwards. And I also sent that script to the current magazine that I work for. And that's how I got my first trial at doing a review for a film and a play. And like, making something often reaps benefits, I think. And if not, you went through the experience of like writing something and making something and learning something. So yeah, I think I know a lot of actors who produce their own stuff all the time, and it can be really frustrating if you don't get the reactions you want. But I think there's always something worthwhile to be won there, I'd say. Also, and if you want to change your mind into something else, that's okay too. Like sometimes it can be something different. I'm not going to do that, but I have had other, fellow actors who kind of turn to me and say, I think, sort of listened to themselves and gone, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's okay. I suppose it's knowing when it's your instinct and your decision rather than pushed by an insecurity or something like that. I think it's how do we learn to listen to ourselves, like really consciously, I'd say. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a really great answer.
Amanda, thank you so much for your time and joining us. Before we let you go, what's coming next and where can everybody find you online?
What's coming next? I have to say, I have no idea. I am presenting some literary events, something completely unrelated to acting. And I say that there is something coming next. I'm submitting a short film that we completed, 3 Latin American producers here last year. So I'm submitting that to film festivals now. It's called Alter. And if it's selected for anything, I will announce that probably on my Instagram, which is @AVVP. So please follow me and look up Writer's Mosaic and the stuff that I write. That would be really amazing. It's all on there.
Awesome.
All right, awesome. I will put the links to all of that down below, everybody. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll chat soon.
Okay.
Bye, guys.